On today's edition of The Front Row, we are the Texas Tech University School of Music in the office of Dr. Eric Allen, who is, I believe, the Associate Director of Bands at Texas Tech University.
Correct.
And wears many hats in the community, is the Director of Choirs at Lubbock's First United Methodist Church, and he's the conductor of the Lubbock Chamber Orchestra, and that's the hat you're wearing this morning, right?
That's the one.
And the Lubbock Chamber Orchestra is giving a concert coming up this Friday in the Crickets Theater at the Buddy Holly Hall. Let's talk about the concert, Eric, and tell us a little bit about it. First of all, the Lubbock Chamber Orchestra, for those who don't know, tell us what that is and who the players are.
Terrific. Well, I'm glad to be here, Clint. Thanks for having me. The Lubbock Chamber Orchestra is a part of the Lubbock Symphony, and we exist as kind of an outlet for chamber music, so to speak. The chamber orchestra, by definition, at least how we define it, is a flexible ensemble, if you will, and so it's a bit more intimate in the presentation. The ensemble is slightly smaller than what you would see with the full Lubbock Symphony, but the players are, the players from the Lubbock Symphony are the players for the Lubbock Chamber Orchestra as well. But we use this vehicle to explore, a variety of repertoire and a flexible instrumentation, if you will. So, of course, there's so many masterworks for full orchestra, but there are also many wonderful masterworks for smaller ensembles. And so we explore many of those pieces with the ensemble.
Right. And it really does open up a whole new vista, doesn't it? Because the first thing that might come to mind would be classical literature, music from the classical period, but it's not that way at all. I mean, there's all kinds of new music and
sure.
That can be done, right?
Right, absolutely. And while we tend to lean more toward the classical repertoire for these concerts, we do certainly explore some modern repertoire as well. And of course, a lot of the newer music is written for a variety of instrumentation and mixed mediums and all kinds of things. So it's been exciting.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
The Lubbock Chamber Orchestra in concert on Friday evening, directed by Dr. Eric Allen. Tell us a little bit about the program.
Sure. Well, one of the things I like to do, as of course I wear a band hat at Texas Tech, and so I always love to explore the wind repertoire. And so we're excited to do two movements from Richard Strauss, Opus 4, the Suite for Winds, which is for 13 players, and we'll be doing the Romance and the Gavotte movements from that to open the concert. And it's just an exciting, beautiful work that explores the virtuosity of the wind instruments from the orchestra. And so we're really excited to open with that. And I love to do wind music on these concerts just to kind of give the wind players a chance to really be featured, if you will. But to follow that, to feature another wind player, we'll follow that up with Aaron Copland's Clarinet Concerto. And this will feature Dr. David Shea, who's a principal clarinetist from the Lubbock Symphony and also the professor of clarinet at Texas Tech. And David is just a magnificent musician. And we're so excited to do this piece with David. And so the Copland's Concerto for clarinet, accompanied by strings, piano, and harp. And so again, kind of fits into the bill for the chamber orchestra. We have a little more flexible instrumentation. So the only wind instrument is the clarinet solo. It's just a fascinating piece. And so this piece was commissioned by Benny Goodman. It was composed in 1948 and then was premiered in 1950. And so, but David, this is one of David's favorite pieces, and so we're excited to do the piece with David. We'll take a brief intermission. And then the title of the concert comes from this namesake. We titled the concert Unfinished Business, and for the reason that we're going to be performing Schubert's Unfinished Symphony, his Symphony Number 8, which is a two-movement work, which lends to the idea that it's considered unfinished. Of course, it was Schubert began work on the piece, and then the piece kind of sat. And it was discovered much later, the two complete movements, and so there's a lot of speculation as to why it was unfinished. Schubert fell ill during the time he was composing it. Some say it just there was some speculation that it was just too difficult for him to revisit the piece because he associated some negative associations. But and then the piece being two movements, oftentimes there was another movement was added from other pieces to kind of fulfill the performance. But the piece lives as two movements, and it's just wonderful in that way. So, but it does end with a more subdued, if you will, second movement. And so we decided to finish the concert with an exciting overture to follow up the Schubert from the Orpheus in the Underworld by Offenbach. And so just a really fun way to end the night. So we're really excited to present this concert.
What a great selection of literature for the concert. It's a great program. Let's unpack it just a little bit. You were talking about the Strauss. He could write anything. I mean, for any kind of, and do it virtuoso way. I can't wait to hear it. I'm sure the wind playing and the writing for the winds is just ideal for each instrument, probably, right?
It is, and I think the horns in particular, I think that's the part that, when we think of classical orchestra, the horns often are more chordal instruments, and Strauss really explores the melodic nature of the horn and the virtuosity and the range and all the things. And so the horn players are in for a treat this week,
Sure,
and anyone who loves the horn. But of course, Strauss included flute, which was an expansion of what we think of as the earlier wind music that was really featured the oboe as the melody instrument, and it still is a melody instrument, of course, but two flutes, two oboes, two clarinets, two bassoons, actually three horns, and then we have a contrabass part, which is usually sometimes done on tuba, sometimes done on contrabassoon. We'll be using the upright bass for that, so just a nice sonority. And because we're doing the concert in Crickett's Theater, I'm not sure if we mentioned that, but it's just a beautiful acoustic space, and so I think that instrumentation will be
great. And you'll use just that number of players.
Yes, yes. Yeah. So those players will be.
Just 13.
13, yes.
Okay, great.
Yes.
And then next on the program is the Copland. I have to say, I think there's a couple of things about Copland that the opening is so beautiful. One of the most beautiful openings of any concerto.
It's pristine. As I've studied this piece, Copland, the open interval writing that Copland uses is so expansive and is just so. As we think of Copland, many people associate Copland's music with the West and Americana, but I think it's that open nature of the open interval writing that just gives this feeling of expansion and openness, and the plains, it just kind of fits right here with the South Plains. And so but it's just stunning writing and stunning. I mean, David's just does a magnificent job with this piece,
and the end is a big whirlwind.
It just transitions. This piece is kind of thought of as a combination of popular music and the jazz style that, of course, as Benny Goodman, was known for, but also the serious music that we associate with classical music. It was really a bridge piece, and it's bridged by a phenomenal cadenza. In the middle, I mean, it just creates. I mean, this soloist, the solo is just virtuosic nature and expands into just a fiery second half, if you will.
Right.
So.
Great. And the Schubert, as you said, it's unfinished, but as you mentioned, somehow it works as a piece. It's complete when you play it.
It really feels that way, and I mean, there's it's just beautiful writing. I mean, to sum it up.
And tuneful.
Yeah, the melodies are there are moments that just make your heart race because they're so passionate, and then they're also followed by moments of serene beauty, and there's just the melodies. I think that's the thing that the players will enjoy the most, and of course the audience as well. They're melodies that you can leave with, and I think they'll be fond memories.
Right. You mentioned 13 players for the Strauss. How many will you use for Schubert?
Schubert, we will use the full forces of the winds, 1-2 apart, of course, and then the string section for the chamber orchestra for this concert will be 6 second violins. We'll actually have 6 violas, which is unusual. We typically do 4 to 5 violas, and then we'll have 4 celli and 2 basses as well, and then piano and harp.
Excellent.
Excuse me, that's for the Copeland, but for
Right.
the string. But yes, the string section will be the same for the Schubert.
Right. Great. And then you'll end with Offenbach, which is so much fun.
It's just fun. It's just fun. Certainly tunes that everyone will recognize. The Can, of
Right.
course, iconic. You'll just imagine a party,
Right.
and, which is
Right.
certainly a fun way to end the night.
Great program. For people who are interested and want tickets for the concert that's coming up on Friday night, how can they do that?
Absolutely. Well, we hope everyone will come and attend, and it should be noted that we worked very hard to make sure there's not a Tech basketball game on Friday night.
Great.
So we're wishing the Red Raiders good luck on Thursday, of course, and on Friday night you could. The concert begins at 7:30 at Crickett's Theater, and tickets can be found at www.lubbocksymphony.org. And it should be noted there is another event at the hall that night. So parking, just want to make you aware that you want to make sure you enter through the Crickett's entrance,
Right.
Crickett's Theater entrance for that night.
Right. Excellent. All right, the Lubbock Chamber Orchestra playing music by Strauss, Copeland, and Schubert and Offenbach this Friday evening, 7:30 at the Crickett's Theater at the Buddy Holly Hall. Dr. Eric Allen, conductor of the ensemble, thank you so much for your time today on the front row.
Thanks for having me, Clint. We'll see you Friday.